The Triple Trio with Hutchi, Richo and RS Dye. It's Hong Kong racing with the blinkers off.
Hello everyone, welcome to a big edition of the Triple Trio, our weekly look at all things Hong Kong racing. We're racing on a Saturday this week. I'm Jason Richardson. I'm alongside the best form analyst in Hong Kong and Clint Hutchison and the Hall of Fame jockey in Sha Tin. Hutchi, brilliant to be alongside you again. Racing on Saturday.
Racing on Saturday, big day in Hong Kong. The National Day Cup is the feature event. It's always a big day there, obviously public holiday in Hong Kong. And yeah, we've got plenty to get through. It's a tough meeting. I thought there's a lot of nice horses returning. We've had a good week. We've had few highs and a few lows, but looking forward to this show.
Mainly highs. We're going to burst out of the gates as we do each and every week. Sweet in Defeat, your little file of horses to follow. Of course, Slaughter or Genius from Sha Tin, which is, of course, the Veandercross or the Ocky. We're looking at global racing as well, and we'll find you a stack of winners. And we'll add in some star power, and it's a beauty in Alexis Badel. Sha Tin, beautiful to see you, RS Dye. As always, mate, how's your week?
Had a good week, had a good last Sunday meeting. Wednesday night, I didn't do much. I didn't like the meeting. I thought it was very hard. But Richo, geez, I missed you last week. Terry did a fantastic job, but, you know, you're just in the elite level. But what I noticed was, and I don't know how Terry did this, he's bald like you, but his head wasn't shiny. All right. Your horse your head just shines.
Well, Shane,
how do you buff it up like that?
When you see horses walk into the mounting yard and you see ones that coat looks a bit dour and a bit dim, and then you see ones that are shiny and healthy.
That's you.
That's me. Shiny. Look at my coat. I've got the spring coat.
You are the pick of the yard.
It's nice to have you back anyway.
It's absolutely brilliant to be here. Is it true that the Armour Guard truck had to back up slowly to your house to deliver all the cash from last week?
I don't know about that. We'll pass on that. But I had a good day.
Fantastic, mate. And you absolutely deserve it. A huge show coming up. First, let's burst out of the gate. We burst out of the gates, Hutchie, with the big news that Joe Moreira will be out of the saddle for up to 3 months. A huge shock.
It is. I didn't really know that Joe was carrying this serious an injury, and it's going to be a blow to Hong Kong racing, no doubt. And it sounds like he's going to be out for a few months. So that is a real shame. And we're used to seeing him in the ranks. It's going to provide a really good opportunity, I suppose, Shane, for some other riders to, step up to the mark. Who will be second pick because Teetan's obviously out. We'll talk about him in a moment, but Joe's obviously got some serious issues, and it's going to be a bit of time on the sidelines for him.
The only thing I can say is stay out longer than come back sooner. Whenever I was injured, I was always back too soon, and in the long run, it did damage to me. Although I'm okay now. So if he says 3 months, but he might need 3.5 or 4, take that 3.5 and 4. He's a champion jockey. He's outstanding, and he'll come back better if he gives himself enough time. If he doesn't, then he's going to have that inkling injury worrying him also. So let's hope he gets over it and he's back when he's right, and I'm sure he'll blow them away again.
What concerned me about the press release, the fact that he was out, is saying that he has out due to physical, but also the mental aspect of that injury, which is a concern. I hope he's okay.
Oh, definitely. And it would wear you down, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when you're always riding through pain, and Shane would know a lot more, be across that more than I would, and you yourself being an athlete back in the day.
Way back in the day.
I'm sure you would have hardly ever been injured, to be honest with you.
That's fair. Have we got an hour? Let's go through it all.
But it would take a mental toll, Shane, I would imagine. If you're constantly riding through pain, you can't be at your best.
Yeah, it does. I did it for 2 years with broken ribs and torn cartilages. I couldn't heal my chest after my major fall in Hong Kong. And I remember the day I was just starting to come right, and I felt better in myself. And I went to track work to the trials, and it was a Friday morning, and I was in gate 1, and the horse in gate 2 reared up and put its leg over and come down on my chest. And I rode the trial, and I was all right, and I went back home, and I sat down, and I couldn't get up, and I went, oh, no, I've done it again. My ribs were gone again. And it wasn't long after that I left Hong Kong to try and get right and come back to Australia. But I had to leave Australia. I couldn't come right. I was getting worse. I went to Mauritius and lived on the beach and come right there. But mentally, it's not easy. You can put up with it for a while, And then the longer it goes, you just say, I've had enough of this. I just need a change. I wish I was better.
Yeah, well, let's our thoughts go out to Joe Moreira. We need him back and need him back into the saddle really quickly. Shane, Vincent Ho is in good form, a treble on Wednesday night.
I think there's a lot of jockeys riding well. I think they've lifted their game. I don't think I'm seeing slaughters like I was when I first started this show. I'm watching the races and they're cutting corners and they're not pulling out at the 700 and going forward. What do you think, Clint?
Definitely. I think a lot of them have been listening to you, Shane, with all due respect.
Yeah, and I think you're being 100% honest about that.
I've seen it. And Vincent's become a little bit more, Vincent's got his style and this horse has clearly improved nearly fine, but Vincent's almost riding. He's happy to take his time early and ride the patience race. He's not the kind of rider, Shane, I think, that is going to jump out and try and put him in a position. He seems to want to ride the horse a lot. He's more inclined to be negative than positive out of the barriers, and it's working for him at the moment. Thought he tailed off. He was probably a little bit too much that way at the end of last season, but he's got a few home so far this term. He's got the wins on the board and he's riding well.
He's riding well. He went off there for a while last year with a couple of bad rides on Golden 60, and around that time he was panicking in races, but he's got it back to being relaxed. He's a different rider to Zach. Zach's very aggressive out of the gates and he gets away with it 95% of the time, although a few times he doesn't, whereas Vincent's more quieter, and it's working at present for him.
And Happy Valley, Shane, that's the track in particular that some of your advice to the jockeys on this show seems to be sinking in that advice. They're cutting the corners.
Well, look at Hercules. That was a great ride by Badel on Wednesday night. Back fence, never panic, just come out after straightening. Listen, if you take off early at the 600 and try and get up, and you miss the boat if you're trying to get up and around at the 600. You got to do that at the 1,000 or the 900 down the back. But if you're trying to work 5, 6, 7, getting pushed wide on the turn, you have to make a long 600-metre run, and it is impossible to do at Happy Valley. Horses can't do it. But if you cut the corner and come out, you've only got to sprint up the straight 350, 400 metres, and horses can do it. And we're seeing it every meeting now, horses winning like that, because they're making that 300 to 400 metre run and they can do it. And I think the jocks are riding really well now.
Yeah, love it. California Spangle, how sweet was that? Just sit, $1.10, easy as you like.
Oh, look, it was great to see him back, wasn't it? And I wanted to, I heard some commentary post-race, in particular from Vincent Ho when he was interviewed, and said, Zach got a soft lead and, it was very impressive as expected because he was being interviewed about Golden 60. He didn't get a soft lead. This horse was beautifully rated by Zach when you go through the sectionals. Now, firstly, the track was on standard. The times of the day suggested that the track, the way that I've rated it anyway, was pretty close to standard. And here's the breakdown of what he did. So he's a 10th or 12 hundredths inside the first section. Then he's gone 0.38, 0.24, and under little pressure late.
Yeah.
He's about set standard late on. So it was clearly the standout performance of the day. There's my ratings. It rated in line with his effort at the end of last season. It was bang on, and this is a kickoff point. So this bodes really well for his preparation. He's already kicked off at a very, very high level, and we could see what an impressive performance. And this efficiency rating, this is a formula put together by some gentlemen in the UK, and they use it a lot in terms of, running your race as efficiently as you can. So if your milk bar or the 7-Eleven's a kilometre from your house, you're not going to sprint. You're going to go at that optimum level. 101% Zach went at. So that horse was almost perfectly rated in front, and he didn't go too slow. But what I want to say about California Spangle, firstly, is that it bodes well for his preparation to kick off on that sort of mark.
And what's the number one target for him?
Well, it's interesting, Shane, isn't it? Because they were tossing up, I think pre-race, Tony wasn't sure, sprint, mile. For me, his best figure last year was in the Derby. I think the mile's probably his sweet spot, but I'd be happy enough over 2,000 in the Hong Kong international races. The problem is that that's where the strongest probably internationals come in the 2,000. Whereas in the mile, you've got Golden 60, but he will make a real race of it, I think, if he tackles Golden 60 going forward. And I'll say, and this is the main reason, he's a lot better horse than Waikuku. We saw what Waikuku did last year when he was given a soft time on pace, and Vincent was well out the back. So it will get down to barrier draws, etc. But I don't think there's going to be too much between them when they do clash again this season, and I think the mile's the way to go.
Shane, if you were managing him, what would be the target race for California Spangle?
The mile. Doesn't matter where he goes, he's going to run into a very good horse. You got Lucky Suarez in the sprint. Can he beat him? Debatable. He's got Golden 60 in the mile. Can he beat him? Debatable. And you go to the 2000, you got Romantic Warrior. Can he beat him? Debatable. And then you've got all the good horses from Europe in the 2,000 metres normally. So I'd say the mile. He was very impressive. And the way you tell how he was impressive was by a horse called Duke Y. Duke Y, Chadwick took him out of his comfort zone a little bit early and it backfired on him, but he did the right thing to try and get the favourite beat. He just went along the fence and tried to make him work a bit. And just looking at those figures that Clint showed you, it did make California Spangle work a bit early. But then he took a sit on Duke Y, which was the right thing to do. But because he worked early, he couldn't finish off the race, and he normally does it, and he ran very well the day. So he was a little bit disappointing because he was taken out of his comfort zone early. So it shows you how good California Spangle was. Now, the other thing is he's come back, he's improved. Golden 67 now, is he, Clint?
Yeah, he's got to be pretty close to that. I would have just turned 7.
Okay. Horses start to lose their ability at about 7. Geldings do, right? So they're normally not quite as good at 7 as they are at 6. I think 5 they always peak. We know that. 6 they maintain it. And 7 you see that they just drop off. Now, if you have a look at Beauty Generation, before he retired, he was a little bit less at 7 and 8 he was gone, So this would probably be last serious good year of Golden 60. And I'm not saying he's lost anything. I think he's a superstar. We all know he is. And he can beat that horse. But we won't know until he comes back just how good he is and how much he's lost in ability through age.
Love it. Mouth-watering. What a clash that would be. Let's check who was sweet in defeat.
6th generation, Miraculous Honour, Super Sunny Sing and Regent Glory all in a line. He's going to dig into an empty hole here because Super Sunny Sing has grabbed him, but Super Sunny Sing.
Sweet in defeat is the name of our horses to follow file. Hutch, who was sweet in defeat?
Well, one of them was our best bet on the weekend, and we did make a case for Powerful Wings last week, and we're going to look at a replay involving him, but I thought his effort was excellent. He was obviously very well back late as well, and I think with a slight adjustment of how he was ridden early, he could have easily won the race. Ice Legend was a good return. He's on the brink of a drop in grade, but look, I didn't mind his run. He seemed a bit over the odds. The market wasn't that keen on him, but he's probably run better than expectations. On Wednesday, Excellent Peers wasn't another one that, you look at his record, I think he'd had a handful of starts, wins and seconds. They weren't interested in him, but he was excellent. Now, this is the horse I wanted to show Powerful Wings. Out of the gate, no issue with this. He's coming back to sliding. You can see D'Souza just looking over his shoulder. He's trying to find a spot here. Now, if he looks ahead of him, he can see that the horse ahead of him, Nordic Star, I think it was going to be in that 3 wide line and is not going to get in. But instead of getting his back there, he continues to come back. Now, he comes back another length. The horse in front of him in the white colours, the eventual winner, Looking Cool, I think it was, manages to now to pop off in a moment or two, and you'll see get that 3 wide trail. So from having that position, you can see he's still trying to come back and concede ground. God. So he's given away that 2 lengths, and he should be where the horse in the purple and gold colours is. And this is where Looking Cool gets onto the back of Nordic in the white and blue colours in that 3 wide trail. So he'd be 3 pairs back, 3 wide. Instead, he's got to make up that 2 lengths. And now he's one off the fence. So he's not covering as much ground, but he's given away that head start. Now, we'll see what concludes in the race. He's given up that spot. He should have the spot. So the winner is in the spot that he should have the way that I read the race, Shane. And now he gets it. Now he's just got to wait for the race to unfold. He has to wait to get off heels. You can see he comes around. The eventual winner has got that run and momentum, and he's got to make up that 2 lengths that he conceded quite cheaply late. He cuts it back to half a length. But I just think that early decision, Shane, where he came back, probably was the wrong one. He should have been looking ahead rather than going back to try to get in.
Yeah, I understand that, but I've got no qualms. What you got to realise with these horses finishing like this is they're finishing like this for one reason. They've done no work early. And when you've done no work early, you can really quicken like Hercules and these type of horses that we'll see later and the ones you're mentioning them. If you've got to work a bit early, they don't finish as much. But I can understand what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing.
He didn't have to do any work to hold his spot. He actually was conceding 2 lengths. You're giving away 2 lengths, and you don't always just immediately get it back. So, he's always got a good finish. He was never going to be too close, but I just felt just that little decision there, that was the difference between winning and losing on the day.
Yeah, we see that time and time again. Shane's point about horses that are on speed get penalised versus horses that are back and run on, and suddenly they're overbet, I think, in the next time. What about excellent Piers here?
He lets the horse underneath him come out here a little bit here and just bump him, and now he's in an awkward spot. Hewitson, I didn't think there was too much sort of aggression shown from Chadwick at that point of the race, and now he's sort of awkwardly placed. He comes out wider. Look, the horse closed off really well. He didn't have a lot of early speed. This was a terrific run in defeat from Excellent Piers. He's not just a wet tracker. He's a very accomplished galloper. The leader and winner got a soft lead, was really well backed. Excellent Piers drifted in the market well back and closed off strongly. I thought it was a terrific run. Shane, he just needed a little bit more positivity, potentially early, but great return.
He ran well, but once again, like I said, he was saved for the whole way, so he got home, but a few more strides he wins.
Well, let's get some opinions in regards to the jockeys with the world-famous Genius or Slaughter.
They sweep for home now. Veandercross has come very wide. Veandercross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
Shane Dye was at his absolute best one day on Octagonal when he seized the opportunity to loop around and kick clear. It was a genius ride. The Genius or the Slaughter? We put the Hall of Famer under the spotlight. Shane, the floor is yours. Let's start with Genius.
Okay, there's a couple here. I thought this was a very good ride from, what have we got here? Gate 12, Matthew Chadwick. He decided to go back from a wide gate. The horse was first up, so he's thinking, I can't go forward and do too much early. So he comes back, which is a good thing to do. Then he just gives him a little bit of dig to get past these horses once he knows he can be on the inside. And he's got on the inside. He gave it a very good ride. Now he's only 3-4 back the fence. I know he's a fair way off them, but when you have a look, he's covering no ground, doing nothing. But the good thing about this ride was at the 600, he decided, like, I've done nothing. I've had a good run. I'm just going to come out and ease my way out now. And he got a very good run, and the horse only just got up. Now, if he had gone forward and sat 3 deep, which he probably would have been, might have got one off, he wouldn't have won this horse. So I thought it was a very good ride, and it was a ride where he was thinking the whole race. And Matthew is at present, I think. You'll see here he just starts to come out. He's cut the corner, and this is when you come out, just on the point of the corner, and it won the race. What do you think, Richo?
That's a beautiful ride, isn't it? Well, absolute textbook.
He came back, got inside of Zach, and then he held Zach in here. This is the other good part. We were on Happy Daily, of course, and we liked him. And that interference didn't look as significant on the side vision. When you see the head-on vision that you can see in the bottom right, I think it did cost Happy Daily a little bit of momentum, but fantastic ride for Matthew. That was a beauty. He's
fantastic ride. I thought this was a very good ride. I was watching Rewarding Hero in the run, and I saw Fantastic Treasure 3 wide midfield, right? And I thought he's 3 wide midfield. And then the next thing I look, he's on the fence. Zach rode this really well. And now I know they dropped off inside him, but you still got to have the confidence to go in and go to the fence at that stage. And Zach didn't hesitate. Now, why Zach improved as a jockey after 3 seasons of Hong Kong when he was average was because he finds runs. When he first got here, he would find trouble from the 700 to the 300. Now he doesn't. Look how patient he is. He stays inside. They open up, but he doesn't pressure him here. He just lets the race unfold, and he knows they're going to open up, and they open up here. He doesn't push the button too soon until he knows the run is going to come. I thought it was an extremely good ride of patience. If he had been caught 3 wide, he wouldn't have won. But he elected to go in when he could, and the horse only just got there. Very, very good ride.
Oh, beautiful ride.
Good to see that horse back too. I think he produced the best final 400 at the meeting. Fantastic treasure. So yeah, it's amazing, Shane, that Zach managed to find the fence. Like you said, normally we're in that sort of position.
No chance.
You can't, but he took it. He didn't need a second invitation.
You know, I wasn't watching him in the run. I was watching Rewarding Hero, but I knew he was 3 wide. And then all of a sudden I look back just quickly through the field and he's on the fence. And I actually don't do replays straight away. But after the race, I put that back on to see how he ended up on the fence, because when I was looking, he was 3 wide.
Incredible. So they're 2 genius rides. Who copped your wrath? Who's in the slaughter?
Well, there's no one really. There was a race here on Wednesday night. I'll point something up, Hercules.
Right.
This was an extremely good ride here. I'm going to point something out later. But this Badel, he gave him a chance. He got back. The second horse was bustled to be forward and won off where he could have been relaxed back here, the horse in the red. But he didn't panic. He just left him alone. And he doesn't win often, this horse, but he cut the corner. And he come out, as I said, on straightening, and he found the line to just win. If we have a look here up in front, the horse that looked like winning straightening up is a horse called Triple Trio. Triple. What's it called, Clint?
Triple.
Yeah,
Triple.
Running fourth. With
Can't call it Triple
turn.
Trio. We've got that copyright.
The other day, he hung in bad. He's running fourth coming out. He looked the winner here, 3 deep. Oh, go back to Hercules. He cut the corner, come out here, and he won the race because of it. It was a very good ride. But Dale is riding actually well the last few metres. He's riding them well in front. But if you have a look at Triple, he's hitting him in his left hand, and he runs in. And what happened the first start 2 weeks ago, that horse hung in bad, and he couldn't ride him out properly. And Matthew had the stick in his left hand, and I noticed it. And then I was watching the race. He should have had the stick in this right hand because he had already ridden him 2 weeks before, and he hung in. If he's going to hang in once, he's going to hang in twice. And he should have had the stick in his right hand then because he did hang in again. He's going to do that most runs, that horse. So he should have been alert to that, I felt, after a ride on the horse. And the stick should have been in his right hand.
What about as well, Shane? Like he's trying to almost sitting pretty here aboard Triple, like he's got them covered. He doesn't even get up to run fourth. I thought he should have been a little bit more vigorous anyway. He did it last year on Stoltz where he tried to ride pretty. Then Zach got on it 1, 2 or 3. Like, was he too cute on it at the top of the straight?
Too cute by
but
half.
he could have been. But in saying that, he would have thought he was just going to win, and he was trying to save him, right? I've been in that situation before. You come out at the turn, you don't want to get there too soon. But then you let them go and they don't quicken as much as you think they're going to quicken. But that horse's problem is he lays in. If his stick was in his right hand, he definitely runs third and he runs better, right? And that was just a fault I felt. But throughout the last 2 meetings, there's not many bad rides. And that actually wasn't a bad ride. It was just an error that his stick wasn't in his right hand to his left hand. I think the boys are riding really well and they're not making many mistakes in races. And don't worry, if I see one, I'll be bringing it up here.
Are you sure? Are you sure you're not getting soft in your old age?
Oh, I don't know about that, Richo.
I just hope there's not a direct correlation between Shane having a good week on the punt and everyone gets a bit of respite for the week.
That's right. If he has a bad week on the punt, that's when I'd give you, forget genius. Have a look at these 15 slaughters.
I've had a couple of really good weeks, boys, so
I know.
happy.
Hey, Shane, as I always say when I think about you, mate, it's good to be the king. We are going to move to global racing. Let's talk world racing and global racing thanks to the World Pool. And the world of racing is just totally up in arms as how an 11-time Group 1 winning horse like Verry Elleegant is somehow balloted out of the best race in the world in the Arc de Triomphe. It is staggering. She's had 2 races in France and they've reassessed her handicap, brought her down a number of points, and she's been balloted out. It's not a World Pool race, but this race will be simulcast into Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's an astonishing decision. I can't get my head around this. And this is irrespective of whether you think she would have been a chance or not. Her right to take the place in this field.
That's not relevant, is it?
It is incredible when you look at her CV, and then they might, we look back at what the French handicappers come out subsequently and said. He's dropped her effectively 2 and 5 points on her 2 French runs, like you said, Richo. But then in a sort of statement that he said recently, he's also factored in what international handicappers have said around the globe from her performances this year. I find it quite unbelievable, to be honest, irrespective of that. So firstly, there would be no, I'd imagine, and it's too hard to go back and check all the data, but, dropping a mare of her quality with her performances, 7 points in those 2 runs, That's the first thing that has to be very contentious. It's a big drop, given that she's won a Group 1 this year, and he's referenced the other 6 races, her last 6, but then conveniently left out the Melbourne Cup, which was her highest rating performance of her career, less than 12 months ago as well, mind you. So in terms of harmonisation between, international handicappers and jurisdictions around the world, Australia's been really snubbed. It's a real slap to the face. And I think it needs to be really looked at quite closely, to be perfectly honest, because, Shane, I'm not sure what your opinion is. Like I said, it's irrespective of whether you thought or not she was going to be a chance in the race. Her you couldn't have a much better CV than what she has. And to say that she hasn't quite been up to them, I find it just unbelievable.
Look, I think it's pretty easy to work it out. Scott Morrison, it's his fault.
Yeah.
Well, what did he do? He took the submarine deal, which cost the French billions of dollars.
That's right.
The damage he's done with China, with different countries around the world, is coming back to bite us now, and it's only going to get worse, and this is the start. It's payback time because of Scott Morrison. Now, you didn't think of that, did you?
Well, actually, unlike Farlap, Shane Dye, James McDonald and Russell Crowe, I would have sent her over there as a New Zealand horse, and then she would have got in.
You're too clever. That
don't say she's Australian.
That might have worked out. That
She is Australian. We know it.
Well, she's a New Zealand bred. I would have gone with the New Zealand. I'm just making sure you realise that, because she did race in New Zealand. She does come from New Zealand. I was just making sure you knew that, Richo. Oh, don't worry. She is a New Zealand. Every bit of it.
Even as a neutral, and if you've got the courage of your convictions and you're the French handicapper, don't try and blame all the other handicappers that have sort of assessed her to this mark. He's the one that's made the call. Say, I didn't think she was up to it, because that's basically what he said. But he wants to then come out and effectively say that the whole world really rated her like that. I mean, come on, what complete nut of garbage.
And I'll give you another scenario. Our great race is the Weight for Age Championship of Australasia in the WS Cox Plate. If we had a full field, there is no chance that we would ballot out El Bodegon, who won 2 Group 1s in France as a 2-year-old, but hasn't won as a 3-year-old. He would still be getting a start, because we understand how important international competition is. In Hong Kong, in Australia, in other parts of the world, the French need to get on board.
Anyway, at least we know who to blame now. Shane's spot on.
It's
Former
Scott
Prime
Morrison's
Minister
fault.
Scott Morrison.
And Verry Elleegant will run on the Saturday Group 1 and fillies and mares. And then the good news is hopefully she'll run really well, and then she'll make her way to Champions Day, and she'll run in the fillies and mares stakes over 2,400 metres to Ascot on Champions Day, which, of course, British Champions Day, which get to see Baid, is all part of the World Pool. So she would be yet another star attraction on that
looking
day.
forward to that meeting. It's going to be an absolute cracker. And there's a few that are sort of not going at this particular meeting or this particular race with that in mind. So, I mean, he's a global superstar, isn't he? So it'll be great to cover that meeting.
And talking about the ARC, as we look at the field, Shane, your boy will probably be the favourite, won't he, in Luxembourg?
It's amazing. You wouldn't see this in a Cox Plate. A horse who's had 2 runs in a long time, and probably only had 5 runs in his career. He's going to keep improving every run. It's not going to be an easy race for him to win, but the 2,400 is going to suit him. The horse that you like, the other 3-year-old, what's it called?
Vedeni.
Vedeni, he's going to be hard to beat. We know he's very good. But I love this race. I think it's sensational and it's hard to win. And, of course, you got the Japanese who think they can win.
That's right.
Not if they get a wet track as usual. That's not their.
That's going to be,
I said. But interesting thing, I mean, with the 3-year-olds having, and I hadn't realised this, but the 3-year-olds had such a formidable record. I mean, it really became a 3-year-olds race at one point, and they changed the weight scale not all that long ago to even it up, because so many of the trainers were just placing the well, and it was a gift really for the best 3-year-old.
Yeah, so that Irish Champion Stakes form reference will be certainly tested, and that was discussed, wasn't it? Vedeni versus Luxembourg. Ernesto's in that race as well, and then Mishriff's decided to go to the ARC, defending champs there from Germany as well. It's going to be an absolute beauty, simulcast on TV.
Richo, one quick question to you, because you know everything about global racing. When's the Superstar? Does he run probably the best horse in the world? Run Breeders' Cup by a long way outside of the European horse. Is he running in the Breeders' Cup?
You are talking about the US flying machine, who's unbeaten, who's winning like Secretariat.
Yeah.
So he will be running. Yes, that's the plan. You're dead right. He'll be
Flightline.
Yeah. Breeders' Cup.
Do you know
will be
what
the
I
next time
find
we see him.
amazing with racing? Now, I've watched his runs. He's a superstar. I said to someone the other day who's in racing in Australia, have you seen this horse? They said, who? No. No one here knows about him. He's the best horse in the world. He's won everything. And you talk to normal people in racing, they've never heard of him, most people. I find it astounding. I haven't read one thing in the paper about him, and he's the greatest horse you'll ever see, probably.
Yeah, well, we showcased him on 7 only about 2 weeks ago, and it's the very same reason why you can walk into a bar or somewhere in Australia at the moment with James McDonald. He doesn't get mobbed. But if I did that 20 years ago with you, RS Dye, the girls would be lining up in a queue.
He used to own the bar. What are you talking about?
He owned the bar. They'd form up in a queue. I'd sell popcorn in the queue, and he'd just be the rock star.
Still is.
It's changed, my friend. We still love it. Hey, talking about star power, we're going to add some significant star power to the program. Well, adding star power, Alexis Badel is our very special guest. He was a champion apprentice in France. He was contracted to the Aga Khan. He's been riding in Hong Kong, 168 winners in his career in Hong Kong, including 3 this year. Alexis, welcome to the Triple Trio. And I must start by saying we're sitting on the edge of our seats because I know you are ready to become a father, maybe even in the next couple of hours.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm happy to be with you guys, but yes, I have my time is limited because my second daughter should be coming soon.
Well, they say famously that athletes have daughters. Is that right, Alexis?
Probably.
How do you reflect on the start of your season? 3 winners already this season?
Yeah, well, that was a pretty quiet first 4 meetings. I'm not going to say it was expected, but I had a couple of bad circumstances, bad draws, maybe few horses not fit for the first time. You need a bit of luck to get on the ones that are fit first up. And things seems to be going on my way recently. So I'm not very. Things are getting better.
Yeah, and Alexis, congratulations on last season. Just have a quick look back. You rode obviously 50 winners, but in terms of prize money and Group 1 success, you were, I think, 4th, over $117 million Hong Kong dollars that you amassed. So you had a great season as far as that was concerned. And it looks as though this season, with a couple of other riders out, namely Joe and Karis, there's a real opportunity for you to take that next step.
Yeah, that's correct. Regarding on last season, it was a great season. I was a bit frustrated because I've had a number of suspension that I could have avoided, and but I bounced back and I was able to win a few major races in Hong Kong, and I think that was a real good achievement.
Shane, how do you assess Alexis' technique as a jockey?
He's going well. He rides well. We know that. He started a bit slow. I think I gave him a bit of a pay on Bundle of Charm. Went too quick and whatever. But since then, the last 3 meetings, your ride on Hercules was absolutely perfect. And you may not have seen it yet, but I highlighted it as a genius ride. And the 2 horses you led on, Sweet Encounter and Yo Beauty on Wednesday night, Sweet Encounter last week, you rated them really well. And if you have a look at the times, you rated them where nothing could actually pick you up because they were very even. He's riding well now, and he's gone to he could go to that level up here because we're missing Joe now, and someone always takes that place. And Alexis one that could.
Alexis, obviously France, very different to Hong Kong in terms of the race shape. They obviously seem, and I might be incorrect here, but as the tempo of races is a slow build and probably, a quicker run home in some respects, whereas Hong Kong's, the dynamics very different. What do you see as the big difference?
Well, everything in Hong Kong is different from European races. I'm not afraid to say that I have to forget everything I've known about horse races when I first came to Hong Kong. I think the biggest challenge is to adapt to the tempo, the way we begin from the gate, The fact that we need 2 lengths clear to come across in front of anyone. So the shorter distance, like we have only sprint in Hong Kong, like it's very dominate sprinters in Hong Kong, which is the absolute opposite in France. In France, it's all about how slow you can begin from the gate.
That's interesting, and also a little bit more, I suppose, in Hong Kong. Most jockeys say it. We touched on this last week with Harry as well. You've got to probably be good out of the saddle as well in terms of your communication and dealing with some of the owners, etc.
Yeah, that's right. One of the big differences is also you have no agents, so you have to basically you have to do your business, but you have to do the business by yourself. You have to look at everything, study the races. It's a lot of homework to do, which is not really like this in France. We have agents, but also we have races every day, so it's quite difficult to handle as well.
Do you like doing the form?
Yeah, I do, because I feel like I socialize well in Hong Kong. You know, when I first came here, I couldn't really speak English, so I had to pick up very quickly. But it was very challenging, and I liked it. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to improve, and I think that's very, it's one of the most competitive places in the world. So if you don't raise your level, you're out, I think.
Alexi, can I go back to where it all started? What drove you to become a jockey? Is it something that you're born into? Tell us your backstory.
Well, I come from a horse family. I'm very proud of my parents because my mom is Miriam Bolak. She's one of the first female trainer in France history, and my dad was a great jockey as well. So my brother was as well. So I come from a horse family. I always been surrounded by horses, and it was like just normal for me to follow this path. I was lucky enough to have the perfect size and the perfect weight to be a jockey. So no question mark about this, and I just follow my parents' path.
Why Hong Kong then? Considering the unbelievable history and tradition you've got in French racing, why Hong Kong?
Well, I've been in Hong Kong since 5 years during the winter time, and only 2 years ago, because of the pandemic, I've had my first daughter. I'm not very happy the way things goes in Europe, so I thought it was the right time and a nice opportunity to accept to be full licensed in Hong Kong. I thought it was the right time, and I'm very happy that I've made the decision, and my wife is very happy as well. I know they have good school for my daughters, so I'm very happy for that reason.
It sounds like you've got it perfectly set up. One great aspect of being on this show is all the jockeys get an opportunity to get schooled by Shane Dye, because Shane looks at all your rides and gives you advice on how you need to ride each and every one of them. You don't need to do form this week, Alexi. You're in the perfect hands. Now, Shane, have you checked out Alexi's rides, and what are we thinking? Give him some advice.
I wanted to ask him a very interesting question.
Oh, okay.
Right? Cordyceps 6. I know you trolled him. You haven't ridden him first up before, but both seasons his only failure was first up. Do you know why that was? And do you think he will fail or win this weekend?
No, that's a very good question. I don't have the answer. What I can tell you is I gave him plenty of work to do during the trial. I hold him back a little bit. I had a patient ride. I came through horses to see if he could respond in the straight, and he did pretty well. So it's not a big concern for me. I believe the draw is ideal because in case of a normal pace, I think I will have the opportunity to come into the clear and find a clear way to anticipate. So I think the draw is quite good. I've been unlucky in that 1,000 meters race when I was drawn on the fence, like grandstand side. And so I believe the circumstances are okay for him. I can't guarantee his level of fitness. Right?
I think he'll win. I think he's going higher. I think everyone has him going a lot higher. Gate 1's perfect. He'll be in behind, off them. There'll be pace, but there's only 7 runners. So you can't get into trouble with 7 runners up the straight. I think he wins. But I just found it interesting that the last 2 seasons, first up, he's failed both times. So that was the only query with him. I think one of your best rides outside of him, of course, he'll be odds on, he could be, is the first race, Al Jaffe. I think he'll run very well. He goes to 1,800 metres. His first up run was good, and there's pace in the race, so you won't have to worry about that with Master Monte and Waymay Luck. They should both go, especially Waymay Luck from his gate. He'll have to come across. So you'll probably be midfieldish somewhere, but he's got a very, very good chance on it. I know he doesn't win often, but he'll run well. Any comments about him?
I think you're right. I came after the last race. I mentioned the longer distance, and the trainer thought the same as well. So it's interesting to see him over the 1,800. Hopefully the pace, but in class 5 that should be okay. Usually the horses cannot really travel strongly, so it just keeps going. So that could be the key for me, but I believe he's going to run well and finish very well.
I think one of your more interesting rides on the day is a horse that we've actually had a bit of time for on Hutchie's Honkers, Alexi, and it's a horse for John Size. And this horse, it's almost a travesty that he's still a maiden. He hasn't won a race. It's a horse by the name of Beauty Tycoon. Now,
race 3, number 2.
It's race 3, number 2. I think he's got a fantastic chance. I noted that John's put the hood and the pacifier on. I know his last run, obviously they went very slow. You over-raced. So I'm happy to forgive that. Can you tell us a little bit more about this horse? You've ridden him a couple of times. Like I said, he should have won a race by now for varying reasons, or the bad barriers, or the way the race has unfolded hasn't suited him. But I'm convinced he's a lot better than Class 4.
I think he's been a little bit unlucky with the circumstances. He's not the easiest horse to ride because he doesn't begin very quick out of the gate, and if you push him too hard, he over-raced as well, and he's a bit lost in front. So last time I was happy from a good gate to take a seat behind the leader, but obviously we went too slow. And then the horse was not very tractable. The winner was behind me, but he was a lot more relaxed on that occasion. So I believe he's had some circumstances to forget, and hopefully he can bounce back and win and break his maiden statement.
So do you think in this sort of race with the pacifiers and the hood on, you'd be looking to do the same thing, or if he did jump and found himself in front, you'd be happy with that?
I think I'll let Mr. Size tell me how he wants me to ride, but it's all about having in a comfortable zone, either behind the leaders or wherever you're comfortable. Last time that didn't happen. The last race last year was from a very wide gate. I had to work a little bit to come across. The horse was a bit lost in front. I believe he's got abilities, maybe not mature yet.
Alexi, John Size can't tell you to lead or not. You can't tell the horse to lead or not. It's up to him. If he jumps well, he will. But if he doesn't, like last start, you're not going to. It's as simple as that, even if you want to. And you can't push him like last time because you know him now and he over-raced. But you put him in the perfect position. So you know him so much better now. He's got a great chance. I don't think he'll be able to lead Glory Bobo from gate 10 if he wants to lead. If he wants to lead, they'll just come across with the kid on and lead. But you're right, Clint. He's got a very good chance tomorrow. He would have improved with the run, as all Johns does. And Alexi knows him after one run now. So I can't see that happening again, what happened last time, Alexi. I think that's impossible to happen.
And just one last one. I won't go through all of them, Alexi, but you're right, an interesting runner in the last Parterre. I thought some of his form at the end of last season seemed decent enough. He's it's a competitive race, but he looks a nice horse, actually.
Yeah. I think it was a nice pick. I believe he's had a tough run last year, and he still picked up on well in the straight, and I believe this horse should be close to win. From a good barrier with a smooth run, I think he should be a very, very competitive ride.
Now, Alexi, what's going on at home? You've left out an Australian and New Zealand horse by the name of Verry Elleegant. She's won 11 Group 1s in Australia, and you, the French, have left her out of the arc. What are you doing? I thought you loved us.
Sorry? Can you say that again?
We were talking about Verry Elleegant has been balloted out of the Arc de Triomphe, can you believe it, with 11 Group 1s in Australia. Have you had a chance to have a look at the Arc, and who would you like to be riding?
Yeah, I did. Well, I don't know what to say because I believe these horses should have a chance to run in the Arc. But I saw a tweet from the president of France Gallo. He said the rules cannot be changed 4 days before the race. So I don't know what to think about this. I can tell my dad used to ride in France with over than 20 runners, either in the Prix du Jockey Club or in the Arc de Triomphe. So I can't see any particular reason they shouldn't be able to get in, as far as I'm concerned. Regarding the support, I would love to see the Japanese doing well. I think they deserve to do well, and I would find it very, very cool for them to perform well.
We think it's the best race in the world. Do you, as a proud Frenchman, look on as it the best race in the world?
I think so, yes. I really love this race. I think it's also up to the condition. Need to check the weather, if it rains or not. It's going to have a huge impact on the race because you'll be surprised how tough it is, and it goes uphill all the back straight from the beginning to the turn. So it's very, very difficult for the horses on heavy ground if they don't like it. So it's going to be interesting, but I believe it's one of the biggest races in the world.
Oh, it is magnificent. Alexi, good luck tomorrow, but more importantly, good luck today. You're part of the Triple Trio family now, so we're looking forward to welcoming another daughter into our family. So good luck for the next few hours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, we're racing on Saturday in Hong Kong this week for the national holiday, and the highlight race is race number 7, Hutch. It's a Group 3 race, and we've already spoken to Alexis Badel, who gave us a very solid push for Cordyceps 6.
Yeah, this is my price. I've got him at $3. I know Shane thinks he might start a bit short, and he may. I think the market will have him $2.20, $2.30, but I can't get him any shorter than around $3. I may tighten him a little bit closer to the day when I go back over it. But at this point, I mean, Master Rate, I've got second or third elect at $6. I think Super Wealthy with Zach on, how good he was fresh up, and his record down the straight of 2 wins in a second. He's got to be right in the game as well. And Skyfield, well, he raced against a lot of these last year in this race and performed well, and he meets a number of them better at the weights. And of course, this is the race last year. Barry's 11, 12, 13, 14. So outside was good. That said, Skyfield made his charge after being on the fence early, came out wide, Super Wealthy. He battled on really well, and he's going to be popular with Zach. Lucky Patches in there, and Stronger ran well. So it's a repetition in many respects of this race. I thought it was interesting in terms of just the way that they meet each other, and they've met each other often, but there is a bit of a difference in the weight scale there, as you can see. We've put in this graphic where Skyfield, has got a little, meets a couple of rivals better off, but there it is right there. So that's
significantly better off at the weights.
Yeah, there's some real swings there depending on margins, but it's not the only time they've met. But I felt that race at that stage last year is always good to look at. Look, there's a couple of other points which I'll make about the meeting as well. But Cordyceps 6, interesting point you bring up, Shane, about his fresh form. I don't know if I'm going to read too much into that. Alexi sounded happy with his work.
Yeah, I'm not either. I've got him on top. The only thing with that race last year was those horses raced before, like Skyfield, this year. Last year, they were going into that 1,000-metre race fresh. This year, they're not. They've had a run. And Skyfield...
All on the same boat, though.
Yes,
they've all had
they are. They are. But I felt Skyfield was, even though he got bumped and pushed wide at the 700 when that horse come back, I still felt he was a little bit disappointing compared to Super Wealthy. Stronger's the new horse on the scene, being fresh and not having that run, of course. I've got Cordyceps on top. There's no doubt about that, probably from Super Wealthy and Take Your Pick next, whether it's Stronger or Skyfield or whatever. They all could place.
Yeah, Cordyceps will be the top selection. He'll be the logical pick in the race. But in terms of playing into the race, we'll have to wait and see what the market does on the day, I think, because it's a race where I could back one or two others if they came up the right odds. And like with Zach on Super Wealthy and his record down the straight, is going to be in the market. And Cordyceps is very much a boom horse at the weights where he'll be popular as well. But I could see any one of about 3 or 4 with the right sort of circumstances winning it. But like I said, I'll probably shorten Cordyceps a little bit closer to the day once I get a little bit of a feel for how a couple of others are in the market, and just take board of some of the liquidity in the market. But I'm happy to say that he's the one to beat.
Just one thing. If he was second up, Cordyceps 6, he would be odds on and cannot get beat at the weights in that race. The only thing I think he'll win, and I've got him way on top, is it's just in the back of my mind, first up, why has he not gone as well? But I'm not saying he's going to do that tomorrow. I think he'll win. But I know if he had one run going into this race, he'd be way odds on and would be winning for sure.
It's very
okay. So on that question then, Shane, if that's at the back of your mind, what price do you need to have a proper bet on him? What price do you think he needs to be for you?
I don't want to bet in the race. I think he'll win, but I think he's going to be around 230, 240.
Too short.
So, I think and it all depends whether Alexis ridden a couple of winners where before the race and there's a chance he'll win the first. And what race is Beauty Tycoon's race 3, Ring Bells. So he's got a chance to probably win a couple of races before. So that's a big bearing in Hong Kong if Australians don't know it, because people bet jockeys and all ups. So if they ride 2 winners, you can bet your life that everything else for the day firms up.
Well, and we haven't mentioned Master Rate, who's got a good record against Super Wealthy, and all these horses tying, and he's 2 from 2 down the straight as well. And I think he is better down the straight course, looking at his overall body of work. But it's a handy little race. It's very interesting, and it'll be a good addition, albeit smaller numbers.
Let's slide back to race number 6. You've cast your eye over the field there for race 6, the Shanghai Handicap.
Yeah, I'm going to have Lucky 8. Favourite in this, and he'll be very well supported. Gee, it's a good race though. We've got Power Cap, who's running against him last season and got within a short head. Of course, Alexi rides that horse. A Kiwi import called Naboo Legend, who's trialled well, drawn gate 1. He's going to have, I think, a little bit of market support, but he was being ridden by Zach in his work, and he rides Maduri Beauty, who trialled exceptionally well. So it's a handy race, and that's not including Mr. Myostatic and Happy Sharing have both had races this year. I like this performance from Fantastic 8. He was just
Lucky 8.
Sorry, Larry 8. Lucky 8, I should say. Look, I thought wasn't given that easy a time. The inside wasn't great on this day. The tempo helped. Power Kept did bridge the gap, but we've got a young horse on the way up. Pre-season trial was fantastic. I'm hoping Matthew Poon's positive from the wide alley, comes across and leads up. And if he does that, this is a horse that could easily make it 3 from 3. But this is a good quality Class 3 1200, and it will be price dependent once again, because if he comes up too short, I'll be looking at others. And I thought it was a very competitive race, Shane.
I've got Midori Beauty on top. I think he's going to be very hard to beat, but I'm not disagreeing with you with Lucky 8. He can definitely win. It's just a matter whether he gets across without spending too much early. Midori Beauty looked good last year, had 2 runs. First run, forget everything went wrong and then went really well. Had 2 wins in Australia and went well. There's good pace in this race with Sparkling Knight, who's a 1,000-metre horse, and, of course, California Vines will push forward from the gate. So it's just a matter of how much Lucky 8 has to work early and if he gets across. But in saying that, when he won his first start, he took a sit-in behind, and he was more impressive taking a sit-in behind. And I think he's going a lot higher, Lucky 8. I think it's a very good race. I think it's 5 from 4 from 2. Strong race, that, Clint.
Okay, then we go to race number 8. So it's another division of this Class 3 sprint over 1,200 metres, a full field again. Zach's on Oriental Smoke for David Hayes. Has had a good start to the season.
Yeah, he put in a career best fresh up, this horse, and he was fantastic, wasn't he? Oriental Smoke beating Super Fortune. Big swing in the weights, though, this time. What is it, 8 kilos or something?
16 pounds, Clint, I think.
Yeah, Yeah, it's, Tony Cruz has decided to claim 10 pounds with Angus Chung, so that gap's going to be bridged a lot. And you've got some nice horses here with Phoenix Light in good form, Rev Parisian. But I think Sake Win or Sake Win he's the one I want to go to. I want to actually also bring up just a couple of stats with this meeting. As we see Oriental Smoke, very impressive against Super Fortune. So both better for a run. Big weight swing, 16 pounds, as Shane has alluded to with the weights. The rail on the C+3, it is gold. Lane in particular in the straight as well. So if you can settle on speed or use that rail on the straight, it's going at 177%. So as opposed to market expectations, and one off the fence, 137%. They've got a 49.8% profit on turnover on the rail, and the strike rate of 14.3. That just tells me when this rail goes out on the C3, anything that's going to lob on the fence in the run or in the home straight, you've really got to upgrade as well. So it's going to be very tough. Well, put it this way, it's a good recipe to have going forward, and we know that. This meeting last year was actually probably a little bit more tempered. It was quite fair, but that is something to bear in mind, and I think that's where Super Fortune would be. Expect him to run a lot better race, but it's where Sake Win will be, and I expect him to be on the back of the leader. We'll see Super Fortune go forward. We'll see Zach probably sit in the trail, 4th, 5th, but I think Sake Win, he looks a nice horse going forward.
Richo, here's some riding instructions info when I was riding what I would do. So we know the rail's hot. You know Chadwick's on Sake Win. He's probably the horse to beat. His runs last year were very, very good, and he's coming back his second season. Now, he's got gate 1, and he probably shouldn't or can't lead with Super Fortune putting too much pressure. If he gets there and leads on his own with no pressure, that's great. So I'm not saying don't lead. Lead if you can. But if he's third the fence, what I'm thinking and what I'm doing at home is I'm watching every video of Super Fortune's runs in the straight, the head-ons, to see which way he goes, whether he goes in, whether he goes out, and when he does it. Now, if you have, you will know that at the furlong, Super Fortune has a tendency to lay out. So if he wants to be patient enough, there could be a run up on the fence. But with me saying this on the show, and I know Zach watches it, Zach's got gate 4. He'll be outside of Satan, and he'll come up and around maybe 3 deep or outside
He's
of it. He's
got gate 2, Zach has. Gate 2.
Gate 2, yeah, but he'll come up and around. He's got outside Sake Win's one. He'll be outside of him early, but he might come up and around just before the turn and get outside and make sure that Super Fortune doesn't lug off the fence the last bit. So Matthew's got a couple of options, but he's got to be aware that that horse can do that. I think it's a very strong race. All the nice horses, promising horses are coming back now. I've probably got Sake Win. I think Super Fortune's going to go a lot better with the weight allowance and having a run. And also Oriental Smoke, you couldn't do more than him last start. He was very impressive, as Clint said. They are the 3. Starbright ran all right too, Clint, last start. He didn't do anything wrong.
I mean, the other thing I like to do when I'm doing the form, this is just for people that, want to pick other bits and pieces up. Oriental Smoke and, of course, Sake Win won on that wet track last season on May 1. They both ran course and distance. Sake Win was late in the day, ran a much better time, albeit with much better weight. And I thought it's just something I like to marry up. Have these two horses raced on the same day? How did their performances relatively stack up against each other? Sake Win was better. It's not weight adjusted. Oriental Smoke carried a little bit less as well, but he's not as worse off at the weights. But yeah, I think it's just something that I like to delve into, and it just gave me a bit more confidence with Sake Win.
We go out to the mile for race number 9. We go to class 2 here for the Beijing handicap. Money Catcher. So Zach again, saddlecloth number 1, and Alexi with Bourbon Air.
Tough race. This is really, really tough in terms of trying to find something. At first glance, I like co-partner elites with the benefit of a run. He's back up in grade, so he drops 15 pounds or 7 kilos. And I looked at how his performances rated last season, and I thought co-partner elites has got a good chance. The negative, Richo, I don't like the map for him. He's drawn 8. He's going to get back. I've already preferenced those horses that I like that are going to be rails in run, and he's not going to get that run. That's not to say that they can't win if they go quick enough or the race turns out on an even track, but at this point in time, he's going to find it a little bit tougher. But he's the one I'm leaning to in that race. But Money Catcher has got a good hope. All for St. Paul's has been great to us over the time. And it's just a race where there's a lot of peaks and troughs with a lot of runners, and depends what they bring. Mr. Ascendancy, we back first up. He's got to be in the game. I think Master of the Light can run well. It's a tough race.
A really hard race, as Clint said. All for St. Paul's won last season first up over a mile, and he looks like he's going to get a very soft lead. Now, if he's forward enough, he can run a race. I've probably got Money Catcher on top from gate 1, but he doesn't win. He just keeps running well and running places, but he will win one day. He's first up, and I know he's got 135. Just check, 135, which is a lot of weight. But, geez, it's an open race, Clint. Even Chariot Grace will get back a bit. His run the other day was good. And, of course, the horse you tipped, Mr. Ascendancy, won well. Bit harder this race. You've even got So We Joy. I know one on the dirt, but does go on the grass. Its 2 trials have been really good this season, and it could run a race fresh. But as I said, I've probably got the one on top, Money Catcher.
Okay, so we'll be watching the market with great interest there. Let's find some best bets to get your pens, boy.
My best bet actually comes earlier in the day, and it isn't a race we've had a look at, but it is Compassion Spirit. The reason why I like this horse is his early season form last term was excellent. He's won 3 of 6 in the grade. He's drawn gate 1 for Zach Purton. Zach can probably get on the either leader's back or in a race where I expect a horse, Smiling Collector, to jump and go forward from 14. I think he gets the right run. He's generally better than this grade. His performances are excellent, and I liked his recent trial, so he ticks every single box. He'll be the one to beat. And in terms
race
of
four, number 2.
Race 4, number 2, and I think in the Quinella we'll have Over the Moon. We'll be having a Quinella and Smiling Collector, who was very wayward at his second career start, but I really think those 3 single out. And if you're playing a tierce or a first 4, Ring Bells for Alexis, actually, I think could run a bit of a race along with Super Highway, but they're more that 3rd and 4th tier horse. But Compassion Spirit would have been my best and my second best at this point in time. I think you'll see Beauty Tycoon hopefully jump on terms, and if he gets to the front, he'll lead them a merry dance.
Okay, that Quinella with 8, 4, and 12. And what was your Beauty?
Beauty Tycoon is the
race
one, race 3,
number 2?
Number 2, yeah. I'm hoping that he can step well. I think it's a very winnable race. In the same event, we have One Voice, who's trialled nicely. He ran second on debut to Kaijing Dragon on a track that it was certainly beneficial to be where he was, but he's got a nice future, that's for sure, Beauty Tycoon, and he's been luckless to date.
HutchiHonkers.com is the website. Jump on, make sure you register. You can buy per race meeting, but you should just log on and just do it for the whole year. It's just, it makes sense. Shane, have you got one in particular, something that you're keen to play with?
Just looking at this quickly, I thought President's Choice could win again. I tipped him 2 weeks ago, and I think he started about 550 or something, and he won well. I know he's up in weight, but he's got gate 2 now, and he's going to get a really good run from gate 2 because looking at this quickly, there's no pace in the race. Oscar Glory looks the only leader in the race, unless Smoothies shows some speed, gets his old pace back, which he's lost. But I know he meets a few of these horses worse at the weights. But if it's an on-pace track, he can race closer, and from gate 2, he'll get a good run, and he'll give you a good run for your money in a hard race. And probably
race 5, number 6, race 5, number 6, President's Choice.
The other one probably I thought could run a race, but he'll get back a bit, is our Jaffe in the first race. I know he doesn't win often, hardly ever, but it is class 5, and something has to win them, and they're in class 5 for a reason. And that's because they don't win often, isn't that, Clint?
Race 1, number 5, and El Jaffe to be ridden by Alexis Badel, who's obviously just seen in the birth of his second daughter, and he'll be up and about and loving life. So there's some selections: Compassion Spirit, Beauty Tycoon for Hutchi, President's Choice, El Jaffe for the Hall of Famer. Make sure you consider them, but also log on to Hutchie's Honkers. We are set for a betting bonanza on Saturday.
We're looking forward to this Saturday. And another thing, if anyone listening and has any questions about Hong Kong racing or from the Hall of Famer in RS Dye, please send them in.
Send them in to Hutchie's Honkers or contact us through all our various social media platforms. And RS, continue on this red hot form of yours at the moment, big boy. I'm glad to be your mate.
I just want to know, are you working here next week on the show, or are you having another weekend off?
No, I'll be here next week, and then I'm taking a month off because I think you and I need to spend some time apart. you enjoyed the show, the triple trio. We look forward to your company next week.